So let's take a look at this model. It's really going to become relevant for page 119 in your lab guide, but let's talk about some of the major features before we just get into the arteries. So here in red, right, we're already in the abdominal cavity, so this is going to be abdominal aorta right there, and this is inferior vena cava in blue over there. We can also see the spleen in purple right here, the gallbladder in green, and then the pancreas in this kind of tannish orange color. This really lobular looking gland there is pancreas. This is going to be the beginnings of small intestine here. And then as we pull that part off, we can also see kidneys on either side and adrenal glands which sit atop those kidneys. So I'll put this back on and then we'll start talking about some of the smaller details. As soon as we get into the abdominal aorta, the first unpaired artery to come off of abdominal aorta is the celiac trunk, which is this guy here. Coming off celiac trunk, we see splenic artery, which heads along the pancreas and towards the spleen, left gastric artery, which is going to come off and go towards the stomach, and then common hepatic artery, which also branches off, and it's going to head towards the liver. So common hepatic artery is going to give one branch, which is gastroduodenal artery, and then it becomes the hepatic artery proper. So here was common hepatic, that little segment. After gastroduodenal branches, it's hepatic artery proper. And the hepatic artery proper is going to split into a left and right hepatic artery, and also the cystic artery, which is the artery that's going to come over and supply the gallbladder. Pretty much anytime you hear cystic in this region, it's going to imply that it's going to the gallbladder. The next branch to come off of the abdominal aorta, almost directly underneath the celiac trunk, so this is our celiac trunk, the next branch is superior mesenteric artery, right there. And that artery has a few major branches that we'll expect you to know. So superior mesenteric artery comes this way. One branch that we see coming across right here is the middle colic. And then down here we see the right colic kind of peeking out behind that vein. And we're going to say this is the ileocolic artery there. So those are the three that you need to know. Middle colic, right colic, ileocolic. These other ones we'll just refer to as intestinal arteries. They're not in your lab guide. Those are all branches off of superior mesenteric. So as we go into the digestive system, there's some other relevant features on this model too. Within the pancreas, we can see the main pancreatic duct right here. In green, we can see the ducts for bile to come through. So we're going to have a left and right hepatic duct, which drain into a common hepatic duct right here. And then that bile, when we're not digesting food, that bile would back up through the cystic duct right here and be stored in the gallbladder. And then when you get a nice high fat content meal where you need the bile to digest it, the gallbladder is going to contract and squeeze bile through the cystic duct into the common bile duct, which is this part. And that'll eventually drain in through the hepatopancreatic ampulla into duodenum. Some other features that we see here as we take this down. Coming off the abdominal aorta, paired arteries. We've got the left renal artery, which goes to the left kidney, and the left suprarenal arteries, which are going to go to the adrenal gland. Same thing for the right renal artery, right suprarenal artery. And then the kidneys are going to filter blood into a filtrate and process urine. So urine would drain down to the urinary bladder through either of these ureters. And the blood that was filtered would be returned to the venous system through the left renal vein and the right renal vein. Here we can see the left suprarenal vein, and there's another right suprarenal vein. Alright, so as we look at this section of the kidney, which has been cut out, you can see renal pyramids, which are these kind of triangular shaped pieces here. Renal pyramids. And then there's a not quite as pink section that separates them. Each of those are renal columns. The renal pyramids drain into a minor calyx. So we now have urine in this minor calyx. And a couple minor calyces drain together to make up a major calyx. So another major calyx. 2 to 3 major calyces per kidney. And they all drain into the renal pelvis, which is here. And at the pelvis, the ureter is going to leave with the urine from that point. This yellow material is fat, and we would say that's filling up the renal sinus. Everything from the renal pyramid line down towards the pelvis is renal medulla, and this outer layer is renal cortex. The renal columns are actually tissue from the renal cortex, which is diving down in between renal pyramids.